Have you ever wondered why you walk into a room and instantly feel a suffocating weight pressed down on your chest? You absorb everyone's emotions, their unspoken anger, and their hidden panic until you literally feel like you can't breathe. We have been conditioned to label the hypersensitive soul, the one who feels a stranger's heartbreak as their own, as some kind of mystical healer. But let's look at this directly without the fluff. You are not experiencing a beautiful spiritual gift. According to Carl Jung, you are actually trapped in humanity's most devastating psychological pattern. Right now, in this modern age of non-stop collective anxiety and loud digital noise, empaths are drowning faster than ever before. You are constantly bombarded by the unseen emotional baggage of everyone around you, leaving you stranded in a state of perpetual survival. But what if this crushing, overwhelming sensitivity isn't a design flaw? What if it is actually your greatest power waiting to awaken from its dormant state? Let's shatter the biggest myth right now. Empaths are not broken people born to be emotional sacrificial lambs for a hurting world. You were never meant to absorb everyone else's pain just to keep the peace. Carl Jung discovered that your rare psychological makeup makes you a living, breathing mirror for the collective shadow. Think of the shadow as everything humanity refuses to face. All the buried darkness, the deep-seated shame, the toxic envy, and the unaddressed fear that people actively push away. Because your psychic perimeter is completely open, your unconscious mind has unintentionally become a dumping ground for everyone else's projected garbage. The chronic exhaustion that leaves you bedridden, the sudden panic attacks that hit you out of nowhere, and that terrifying feeling of completely losing your identity are not signs of mental weakness. They happen because you are carrying heavy, agonizing psychological burdens that were never yours to bear in the first place. This exact dynamic explains the massive epidemic of narcissist-empath trauma bonds currently destroying sensitive souls everywhere. It is a calculated psychological lock and key system. Narcissists actively hunt for empaths like a heat-seeking missile because they are desperate for someone to hold their unbearable shadow. They cannot tolerate their own flaws, so they look for someone whose boundaries are so porous and open that they will absorb all of their toxic projections without questioning it. You take on their guilt, you feel their hidden shame, and you exhaust yourself trying to fix them while they drain your life force. But here is the ultimate turning point that changes absolutely everything. When an empath stops playing the role of the helpless victim and starts consciously reflecting back the exact madness they have absorbed, the game flips completely. You become far more dangerous than any narcissist could ever imagine because you suddenly force them to look at their own ugliness. Your current suffering is not meaningless pain. It is an urgent signal screaming for a total transformation. Through Jung's precise process of individuation, you will learn exactly how to dismantle this curse and transmute your raw sensitivity into absolute sovereign power. To understand how to fix this, we have to look at how the empath's curse actually operates in your daily life. The traditional empath absorbs emotions like a dry sponge dropped in water, acting completely by instinct rather than conscious choice. You can walk into a crowded grocery store or a tense business meeting and immediately feel a wave of hostility radiating from someone you have never met. Within seconds, their unexpressed anxiety becomes your racing heartbeat, your sweaty palms, and your sudden urge to run away. Someone else's hidden depression can settle directly into your chest like a heavy block of concrete, completely shifting your mood for the rest of the day. Stop calling this heightened emotional intelligence a beautiful gift. According to Jung's deepest research, this is actually a hazardous state of psychological porousness. It means you are walking through a chaotic, hurting world, completely defenseless, unprotected against the raw pain of the masses. Your constant physical and mental exhaustion is not a medical mystery. It is pure emotional absorption overload. Your system is working around the clock to digest feelings that don't belong to you. Those intense anxiety triggers that seem to spark from nowhere aren't a defect in your brain. You are actually picking up on massive waves of collective unconscious material through a very real process known as emotional contagion. Your intense hypersensitivity to the moods of coworkers, partners, and strangers isn't magic or witchcraft. It is your physical nervous system and your mirror neurons working overtime, firing at a rate that completely blurs the line between yourself and others. It creates a volatile psychological state where your brain literally cannot distinguish between your personal pain and the pain of the person standing next to you. The harsh reality is that the unawakened empath experiences human life through a highly sensitive nervous system that has absolutely no filter. Where normal people have thick psychological boundaries, you have wide open, unprotected channels. This emotional intelligence turns into a terrifying curse the moment every single human interaction drains your personal energy reserves down to zero. Your personal depression cycles get deeper and darker, not because your life is bad, but because you are constantly processing fragments of everyone else's unhealed shadow alongside your own. This overwhelming feeling is never a sign of weakness. It is the inevitable, natural result of perceiving data way beyond normal human limits. But hidden right beneath all of this daily suffering lies a profound, ancient truth. This curse was given to you for a specific purpose. The empath is designed to serve as humanity's unconscious mirror. Once you learn how to stop absorbing the mud and instead start reflecting the light, that unbearable sensitivity is going to become your ultimate weapon and your greatest strength. To truly understand why you are drowning in other people's energy, you have to look directly at what Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow isn't just a collection of bad moods or temporary negative emotions. It is the deep, dark psychological basement where people hide everything they refuse to acknowledge about themselves. We are talking about the raw, unfiltered parts of human nature: unconfessed envy, hidden malice, deep-seated shame, and intense rage that society tells us to suppress. Jung discovered that every single human being carries this hidden repository of disowned traits. But here is the massive, life-altering revelation for you. As an empath, you don't just sense or feel these shadows in other people. Because your psychological defense system is completely open, you actually become a physical living container for them. You walk around holding the toxic, buried garbage of people who are too cowardly to face their own internal darkness. This happens because the human psyche operates through a powerful, unconscious survival tactic called projection. When someone cannot handle their own negative traits, their mind literally ejects that darkness and casts it onto someone else, like a movie projector throwing an image onto a screen. Think about that one toxic family member, boss, or partner whose sudden irrational anger completely overwhelms your system. They aren't just having a bad day, they are actively projecting their own self-hatred and repressed fury onto your highly permeable psyche. Jung identified projection as one of humanity's most primitive and destructive defense mechanisms. Because you possess an innate psychological porousness, you act as the ultimate high-definition projection screen for everyone else's madness. They leave their trash at your door, and your sensitive nervous system instinctively cleans it up. This dynamic goes even deeper than the personal flaws of the individuals around you. When you walk into a crowded room, a new city, or a tense workplace, and feel an immediate, inexplicable sense of dread or doom, you aren't going crazy. You are actually tapping into a massive reservoir of collective repression that has been building up for generations. Jung's psychological model proves that empaths unconsciously mirror these hidden, universal shadows, forcing the invisible sickness of society to become visible through their own physical and emotional suffering. This is the exact reason why traditional shadow work feels completely impossible and utterly paralyzing for you. You sit in therapy, trying to fix your anxiety and sort through your dark moods, but you are failing because you are trying to heal shadows that do not even belong to you. Your unconscious mind cannot tell the difference between your authentic personal pain and the heavy black cloud of collective darkness you absorbed at the grocery store an hour ago. Without strict conscious awareness, you are nothing more than a psychic refuge bin for your environment, soaking up the disowned emotional waste of the world. But the second you realize you are merely reflecting the shadow rather than generating it, the chains break, and you can finally begin the real work of reclaiming your life. This open-door policy in your psyche is exactly why narcissists hunt for empaths like a heat-seeking missile tracking its target. It is a fatal attraction based on pure psychological design. The narcissist carries a core of shame so profoundly deep and agonizing that it could completely swallow their sanity if they ever looked at it directly. To survive, the narcissist builds a loud, grandiose, false persona, a bulletproof mask of perfection. This mask is specifically engineered to act as a funnel, channeling their unbearable internal shadow straight into your open, porous psyche. Jung's research uncovers a terrifying truth. Empaths and narcissists do not meet by accident. They form an addictive, toxic bond through a flawless system of mutual projection. While the narcissist projects their weakness, their self-loathing, and their fragile vulnerability onto you, you unconsciously do the exact opposite. You take your own golden shadow, your innate power, your natural confidence, and your healthy self-interest, and you project it onto the narcissist, believing they are the strong, loving savior you've been looking for. It is a perfect storm of absolute psychological manipulation. And the gaslighting always begins with subtle, calculated strikes. The moment you try to voice your discomfort, they hit you with the classic lines. You're just too sensitive. You're crazy. Or you're imagining things. Let's be direct. These manipulation tactics are not random outbursts of anger. They are deliberate, weaponized tools designed to make you completely doubt your own intuition and shatter whatever fragile boundaries you have left. The narcissist is engaged in a literal act of emotional vampirism. They feed greedily off your vibrant life force and your endless empathy, using your emotional reactions to stabilize their own fragile ego while keeping their grandiose mask firmly in place. They need your mirror to avoid looking at their own horrific reflection. Every screaming match, every silent treatment, and every projection of rage is actually the narcissist fleeing in absolute terror from their true broken self. Through this twisted dynamic, the empath becomes the ultimate psychic channeling system for everything the narcissist refuses to feel. This codependent fusion creates a suffocating closed loop where neither person ever has to face reality. You can waste years or even decades trapped in this exhausting cycle, burning through your health and sanity because you foolishly believe your boundless compassion can fix or heal them. But hear this clearly. You cannot heal someone who views your kindness as a weakness and uses your empathy as a weapon to destroy you. The toxic manipulation will only intensify and get uglier the moment you try to get stronger, because you are threatening to stop being a convenient dumping ground for their projected shame. The only way out of this mutual destruction is a total collapse of the system. It always starts with a betrayal so deep, cold, and profound that it completely shatters every single illusion you held about them. But it is within that exact agonizing shattering that your true awakening begins. True psychological individuation does not begin when your life is peaceful. It begins in the exact moment where a brutal, calculated betrayal completely shatters your very last illusion. That devastating second when the narcissist's mask finally falls to the floor and breaks into 1,000 pieces is not your destruction, even if it feels like your entire world is ending. Let's look at this directly. It is actually the mandatory first stage of your psychological alchemy. Carl Jung identified this precise moment as the ego death and spiritual rebirth that every single empath must undergo if they ever want to reclaim their authentic self from the parasites of the world. The years of manipulation you have endured, the tears you cried in secret, and the immense suffering that nearly broke your spirit are not empty, wasted experiences. They are your prima materia, the raw, heavy, chaotic material required for your ultimate psychological transformation. For the highly sensitive soul, this alchemical process means completely transmuting your historical pain into unshakable wisdom through conscious integration. The drowning waves of overwhelming emotions that once paralyzed your nervous system are no longer allowed to destroy you. Instead, you consciously weaponize them as the exact catalyst needed to develop absolute psychological sovereignty. Your true center, the unshakable core of who you really are, can only emerge through rigorous shadow work. You achieve this by standing your ground and constantly asking one brutal, direct question every time an emotional wave hits you. Is this emotion actually mine, or did I steal it from someone else? This process of alchemical separation is absolutely excruciating because it forces you to rip apart your codependent habits. But as you aggressively reclaim your authentic feelings from the massive pile of other people's toxic projections, individuation permanently rewires how you experience human sensitivity. Instead of functioning as an open, unconscious sponge that absorbs environmental mud, you finally develop a sharp, razor-like conscious discernment. The new boundaries you forge from this pain will never be cold, defensive walls that isolate you from the world. Instead, they become strong, impenetrable alchemical vessels. These containers are solid enough to protect and hold your own psychological gold, while remaining perfectly calibrated to allow for genuine, healthy human connection. Jung revealed a harsh, unavoidable truth. There is absolutely no coming to consciousness without deep, transformative pain. Every single toxic relationship, every screaming match, and every exhausting moment of emotional overload was actively pushing you toward this exact evolutionary crossroads. You were never put on this earth to heal broken people by foolishly absorbing their darkness into your own body. You were born to show this world what it actually looks like to become completely whole. The master empath who successfully emerges from the fires of individuation is entirely unrecognizable to the people who used to manipulate them. Gone forever is the helpless, weeping victim who quietly absorbed everyone's pain just to keep a fake sense of peace in the room. In that person's place stands a fierce, sovereign being who wields conscious compassion like a highly precise, weaponized instrument. Let's be clear about one thing. You do not lose your beautiful sensitivity when you wake up. You finally master it. You turn what was once a debilitating psychological curse into a deep shamanic wisdom that effortlessly sees right through every fake smile, every corporate mask, and every manipulative persona on the planet. Your entire understanding of compassion changes completely the absolute second you integrate your shadow. It is no longer driven by a desperate, anxious trauma response to fix, save, or heal every broken person who crosses your path. Instead, your empathy matures into bounded love, a fierce form of love that is incredibly powerful precisely because it possesses strict, uncompromising limits. The awakened empath practices strict, discerning empathy. This means you actively choose exactly when, where, and how you will engage your energy, rather than allowing your nervous system to be hijacked by the chaotic emotions of immature people. You gain the supernatural ability to witness someone else's suffering without emotionally becoming that suffering. You can hold space for a storm without letting the storm destroy your house. And you can love someone deeply without enabling their toxic dysfunction. This specific shift is what makes the sovereign empath highly dangerous to manipulative people and toxic systems. You become a threat because you mirror absolute, unfiltered truth. When an individuated empath calmly walks into a room, their integrated shadow acts like a massive psychological tuning fork, instantly exposing everything that is fake, dishonest, and manipulative in the environment. You become a highly polished mirror that automatically reflects back the exact darkness others are desperately trying to project away from themselves. Because you have done the agonizing work of cleaning out your own internal basement, their projected guilt, shame, and rage simply have nowhere to land. Their toxic garbage slides right off your psyche and falls right back onto them. This truth-telling power isn't loud, aggressive, or angry. It is the natural, quiet result of embodied wisdom. The awakened empath stands as living proof that authentic human connection is only possible between two whole, independent beings, allowing you to experience profound intimacy without ever sacrificing your soul again. The empath who successfully completes the grueling journey of individuation does not just transform their own personal life, they trigger a massive, unstoppable chain reaction throughout the entire collective unconscious. Think of it like dropping a heavy stone into a perfectly still, glass-like lake. The single splash of one awakened sovereign creates powerful, far-reaching ripples that distort and rewrite the entire shared psychic field of humanity. This is not some abstract, mystical theory. This is a highly precise, observable psychological pattern that Carl Jung discovered while mapping out universal mythological structures across every major human culture in history. You must realize that your mind is deeply wired into the collective framework of the world, meaning that when you heal your own boundaries, you are actively carving out a new path for others to do the exact same. Let's look at the global reality directly, without any fluff. The ancient, exhausted archetype of the suffering servant, the tragic, perpetual victim who quietly sacrifices their mental health to absorb the world's sickness, is finally dying out. In its place, a powerful new archetype is violently emerging, the sovereign mirror. We are witnessing this massive psychological shift play out on a global scale, and it is even reflecting in our highly advanced digital landscape. Look at our modern technology. Artificial intelligence systems are being programmed to recognize human micro-expressions, while complex social media algorithms actively track, predict, and analyze deep mental health patterns. These technologies are nothing more than digital shadows mimicking the empath's natural biological function. They are technological mirrors proving that humanity is currently experiencing a desperate, urgent collective need to be seen, understood, and decoded. The empath's evolutionary journey from a helpless, drowning victim to an unshakable sovereign master is rapidly becoming the definitive roadmap for humanity's consciousness evolution. When multiple awakened empaths finally step out of isolation and step into the exact same physical or digital space, they create what Jung technically defined as a constellation. This is an intensely activated, highly magnetic archetypal field where absolute truth becomes completely unavoidable, hidden shadows can no longer find a place to hide, and authentic, raw human connection becomes the only viable option left on the table. This is how a mass awakening actually functions in real time, not through aggressive political force or loud arguments, but through pure, unshakable psychological resonance. The age of highly sensitive people acting as unconscious, defenseless absorption sponges for toxic environments is officially over. The age of the conscious mirror has arrived, and by standing firmly in your own authority, you are quite literally updating humanity's core operating system. The unshakable, sovereign empath you are looking at in the mirror today would absolutely terrify the broken, exhausted person you were just a few chapters ago. Take a second to honestly remember what it used to feel like, constantly drowning in everyone's chaotic emotions, perpetually crushed and heavily weighed down by their toxic, unconscious projections. Look at yourself now. You stand tall as a completely sovereign being, confidently wielding fierce, conscious boundaries that have permanently transformed your raw sensitivity from a draining curse into a highly calibrated weapon of precision power. When a toxic person or a manipulative family member tries to project their hidden shadow, their unhealed guilt, or their random rage onto you tomorrow, your system will not skip a beat. You will no longer absorb it into your body or let it ruin your day. Instead, you will flawlessly reflect it right back to them with a calm, fierce compassion, instantly forcing them to stand face to face with the ugly parts of themselves they have spent a lifetime disowning. This is your undeniable new reality. Crowded spaces will begin to energize and inspire you rather than draining your life force. Narcissists will actively flee from your presence because they cannot handle your absolute truth. And that old, crushing anxiety will seamlessly transform into a highly accurate early warning system that tells you exactly when someone is trying to manipulate you. You have successfully mastered the profound process of individuation, the ultimate alchemical transformation of an unconscious victim into a highly potent conscious catalyst. So here is your final direct choice as we close this chapter. Will you continue to use your sensitive empath nature as a weak excuse to stay small, hidden, and safe from the world? Or will you finally dare to step into your power and be the unshakable mirror that awakens every single person around you? The modern world is in absolute chaos, and it desperately needs conscious empaths who have done the work and emerged completely unshakable. I want to hear from you right now, so comment below. What heavy shadow are you going to stop carrying for other people today? And if you are truly ready to stop playing small and master the deepest, most life-changing secrets of Jungian psychology, hit that subscribe button right now for more direct, transformative insights. Stop letting people drain you. You were never meant to heal this world by absorbing its pain. You were born to awaken human consciousness itself.